you all out of here between 8:30 and 8:45, so cross your fingers and we'll try to do that. I hope everybody got a program. If you didn't, there are some up front. We're going to do the county commissioner race first, then we'll take a little bit of a stretch, 2 minutes, then we'll do the public service commission, maybe a 5-minute stretch after that, and then we'll do House District 17 at the end. I'm Melody Martinson. I'm the editor and co-owner of the Choteau Pavilion weekly newspaper, and we've been doing candidate forums in Choteau for 32 years this year. Yeah. I want to thank all of you for coming tonight to listen to our candidates, and thank our candidates for being here. We are also, for the first time in 32 years, live streaming this event on our Choteau Pavilion Facebook page. So if you have friends or relatives that didn't get a chance to see this, you can refer them to that. It will stay archived on our Facebook page under videos. Okay, so each of our candidates will answer 4 questions from me that they have not had in advance. Because of the number of candidates and the time constraints, I won't be taking questions from the audience, but I have asked the candidates to hang out after the forum so that if you have burning questions that you want to answer, ask them, they'll be here for you for that. The candidates have also put out some campaign materials at the front entrance, and I encourage you all to take some of those home with you. All of the candidates will have 1 minute to answer each of the 4 questions, and they'll be given 2 minutes for closing remarks. We have a timer right here who's going to hold up a card that says 30 seconds, and then time's up. The short breaks between each race, I encourage you to get some coffee or some water, grab a snack, or use the restrooms, and we'll just keep moving right along. So without any further ado, we're going to go to Teton County Commissioner 2. The race for the Board of County Commissioners features 4 nonpartisan, and this is the first year that they're nonpartisan, 4 nonpartisan candidates: Joe Dello, Corey Coverdell, Rhea Rutowski, and David Brownell. They will appear on each of, and correct me if I'm wrong, Paula, but these nonpartisan races will be on all 3 ballots, correct? So whether you vote a Democratic ballot, a Republican ballot, or a Libertarian ballot in the primary, you'll still get to vote for these nonpartisan candidates. And that's something new this year, because in past those offices have all been partisan. Joe is seeking his 4th 6-year term as a commissioner. He and his wife Dana live on a ranch west of Bynum in the Blackleaf and have 2 grown children. Joe is a graduate of Choteau High School and attended Montana State University Bozeman for 2 years before heading off to work in the oil fields. He's worked as a cattle and sheep rancher for most of his life. He's a member of St. Joseph's Catholic Church in Choteau and served for 13 years on the Bynum School Board. He's the vice chairman of the North Central Area on Aging Board, serves on the Rocky Mountain Front Week Roundtable, and is the vice chairman of the Center for Mental Health Governing Board. Joe is also the current chairman of the Board of Teton County Commissioners and serves on a number of other boards and committees associated with county work. Rhea is the daughter of Hal and Alan Camphouse. She grew up on the family farm and ranch on the Fairfield Bench. She milked cows, herded cattle, stacked hay, and loved lambing season. Who wouldn't? Just as an old sheep rancher, I might say that. She loved riding her horse, too. She attended a small country school and graduated from Sims High School. She and her husband, Brian, have been very active in Choteau for more than 35 years. They've been involved with Boy Scouts and baseball and 4-H, and their kids were in every extracurricular activity you can imagine. She worked for Choteau Public Schools for 10 years, 1 year as an office aide and 9 years as a Title I math tutor. She then went to work for Teton County, spending 15 years as an administrative assistant with the Montana State University Extension Office, and working part-time as the Teton Airport Commission clerk and secretary for the Teton County Weed District Board. Then last October, she retired from her most recent position as office manager for the Teton County Road Department, where she had worked for 5 years. Corey is a native of Kalispell and a graduate of Flathead County High School and a 5th-generation Montanan. He grew up in Kalispell, and he earned a bachelor's degree in earth sciences from Montana State University. He's lived in Bynum since 2010 when he took over as the executive director of the Montana Dinosaur Center, which maybe some of you remember as the 2 Medicine Dinosaur Center. Corey and his wife Stacia have been active in growing the community, focusing on growing tourism opportunities around the county. Corey also contributed to the Economic Development Community Roundtable for the Choteau area. He has been elected to and is serving on the Bynum Teton Water District Board and the standalone Bynum Elementary School District Board. Dave has lived almost his whole life in either Teton or Ponderay County because he's got farmland in both. He was raised northwest of Pendray on what is known as the East Lake Road, where he has resided since 2012. He attended the Pendray Elementary School through 8th grade and then went to Conrad High School, graduating in 1969. He then attended MSU, majoring in accounting. In 1970, he joined the Montana Air National Guard. He's worked most of his life in production agriculture, but he's also done stints in construction, building roads and installing water and sewer lines, operating those construction equipment, and driving all kinds of trucks. Dave has served on the Ponderay County and State Fire District Boards and served on the New Miami Colony School Board. So these are our candidates. Again, they haven't seen these questions ahead of time, and they drew lots to see who would go first. And so Rhea is going to be our first respondent. And Rhea, please tell us what you want to accomplish in your first term in office if you are elected. Yeah, please use the mic. And does it sound okay, guys? Can everybody in the back hear us? Okay, we're good? All right, go ahead.
Thank you. My first term in office, I would really resist on.
Yep, you have to, there you go.
It's,
You have to click the switch. There you go.
My first term in office, I would really like to accomplish some productive leadership in the county, and I would also like to bring forth financial accountability and financial transparency as I go through the office. I would like to have financials put on the web so anybody at any time can go and see what the county is spending their funds on. And I would also like to bring respect into the county as we respect each other and our coworkers. Thank you.
Okay, Joe, the question was, please tell us what you want to accomplish in your returning term in office.
Okay, well, the main thing that I would like to get done in the next 3 years is we've been trying to figure out how to build an emergency services building. We have a coroner with no cooler and no place to do what he needs to do. We have a health department that doesn't have their own building. And we have a good relationship with the hospital, but it would be much better if we had a larger, more useful facility. They're pretty much strapped, and during this pandemic, it was a pretty tough deal. They needed 2 more offices, and I worked with the hospital trying to get that accomplished, but I couldn't get it done with Louis, so we're to the point where we need an emergency services building. I've already built 2 buildings with the county without having a levy for either one, so I'd like to do that 3rd time. And if anybody's been to our ambulance barn in Choteau, you've got to realize that we need to update that as well. So that would be my hope.
All right, Corey, please tell us what you want to accomplish in your first term in office if elected.
So I really want to kind of make sure that the county is being proactive rather than reactive, looking at how the county is looking into the future and making plans and making sure that we are where we need to be in the future. How do we go about making sure that we have jobs for people in the community in the future? How do we go about making sure that the community has the infrastructure that it needs? Really doing that, and also incorporating technology to optimize and really make it a better community as well. Transparency is also one of the things that I really want to focus on, and making it so that people know what's going on with the county and why are the commissioners doing what the commissioners are doing, and just really looking to kind of be part of the community and be out there so that people know what's going on. Thank you.
All right, Dave, please tell us what you want to accomplish in your first term in office if elected.
Well, I would like to accomplish that, see where the tax dollars are going and see if we can't stretch them the furthest, that I can go along with Joe, that if they need more emergency buildings for the ambulance and the coroner and whatever, it would be a good thing to look forward to, and if we could do it without any, having to put any more levies, it would be great. And I would like to get to know everybody, and I'd like to get the first year, I would really like to get to know how the board works. And with that, I really don't have anything else to say.
Thank you very much. Do you guys want me to repeat the question each time? Are you okay if I just ask it once? You can ask me to repeat it if you want me to. So the second question, we'll go to Joe first, and then we'll rotate right down. Joe, what is the most serious problem facing Teton County, and what can you do to remedy or alleviate that problem as a county commissioner?
1510-420, MCA code. It limits the amount of money that the county can levy, and it's restricted to 1/2 the rate of inflation. And to make that even worse, it's a 3-year weighted average. So literally, our levy will have the ability to go up between 2% and 3%, and we're having 8%, 9% inflation. We're buying fuel for the road department. Just all of our costs are just going up through the roof, just like everybody else's are. And there's not a real good way to cope with that.
All right, Corey? Yeah. So what is the most serious problem facing Teton County, and what can you do to remedy or alleviate that problem as a county commissioner?
So I really see just forecasting into the future being one of the most difficult things to tackle. Like Joe says, we're limited on the funds and how much we can raise, but potentially looking at that and knowing how much things are going to be in the future, we can kind of plan a little bit better. So kind of implementing planning and also figuring out new ways to improve things within the county. Thank you.
Okey-doke. What is the most serious problem facing Teton County, and what can you do to remedy or alleviate that problem as a county commissioner?
Well, I can see right now that the way this economy is going and inflation is one of the biggest things, and that's going to be hard to keep up with. And as Joe said, you know, that we certainly can do 2 to 3%, but inflation is at 8%. And one of the things that I would like to work on is to make sure that the roads are in good repair, even though it's, you know, it's hard to do with the amount of money that's going to be available for this. And there's just many other areas that we could work on, but like the health and services is one of them, especially the ambulance and things like that. That's all.
I have to agree that economy is probably one of the major things that's going to be forcing our community right now, and us as a county. The price of fuel, the price of fertilizer is going sky high, and the other thing I think that we're going to have to really face in our future is affordable housing. The housing market has been out of this world, and I think the person that works at Rex's or any place else is going to find a hard time finding affordable housing where they can still maintain at the end of the month. And I think it's time for all of us to, during this time, to tighten up and cut where we can, and because I think we're all feeling that pinch right now. Thank you.
three. Corey will go first. And some of you kind of touched on this already, but what infrastructure investments does the county need to make in its buildings, properties, roads, bridges, vehicles, computer systems? And how do you prioritize those investments?
So I think that prioritizing those is one of the most challenging things the commissioners can do. For me personally, I think that prioritizing the digital infrastructure and the new ways of doing things and incorporating some of those is extremely important. But making sure that the roads are maintained well and that people can get where they need to go, that EMS can get where they need to go, that's also important too. So between those two, combined with, like Joe said earlier, you know, looking at the ambulance barns and EMS itself, like making sure that everybody has what they need is paramount to everything we would do as commissioners.
Well, I think it's good to have good computers in all the offices and be able to have good radio for the road department so they can get in contact when they need somebody else or whatever to come help them. And one thing I would like to see is to set up for the EMS is when there's a big snowstorm or something and they have to go out to somebody's place, there should be a list of farmers and ranchers that got tractors with dozers or tractors with farm ends and with big buckets on so they could help get them there and get them back to where they need to be. And I would also like to see if the county can invest maybe some of their money in a short term, somewhere else where we could make some money on the money while it's sitting there. Thank you.
Okay, Rhea?
I think the county needs to support new business and encourage the use of the resources that we currently have in Teton County. For example, the extension office could help design a business plan. And so I think we need to encourage the resources that we have. And I also think we need to really think about affordable housing as our teachers are coming into new positions in the county and if they're going to be able to find places to live. So I think housing will be something that we're going to have to pay attention to in our future. And I really think that encouraging new business to start and encouraging our business development will be very important. Thank you.
Okay, Jill?
So the question was infrastructure and how do we address it, basically?
Yeah, the question was, what infrastructure investments does the county need to make in its buildings, properties, roads, bridges, vehicles, computer systems, and how do you prioritize those investments?
Okay, we've already been doing that, and I'm really thankful that we were looking ahead down the road. In the last 2 or 3 years, we've restructured the road department, and we now do graveling with belly dumps and side dumps. If we were still running those dump trucks, we'd be burning fuel like crazy. We couldn't afford to even do that. And the other thing we've done is last winter it became apparent that we needed to hire a grant administrator. Just with the CARES Act and the ARPA Act, it's really hard to stay ahead of everything. And with this grant administrator, I'm pretty comfortable we'll be able to bring new things into the county. Thank you.
All right. Our fourth and final questions goes to Dave first. If elected, what single thing, if anything, would you change about how the commissioners currently govern Teton County?
Well, you know, that's kind of a tough question because since how I haven't been in there as a county commissioner, and I think the county commissioners are doing a good job. They've done a good job on the roads here the last couple of years, and they're getting lots of gravel where it needs to be placed. And that's one thing that, you know, is important to everybody is to have good roads. And so that would be one of the things that I would like to see have done. And once again, I mean, your EMS and your medical fields, they're very important, and we need to back up and help them in any way that we can. Thank you.
Rhea, you're up next.
I guess one of the things I think I would change in the current commission is financial transparency and having the minutes and the budgets put on the website monthly, and so everybody would have access to see where their tax dollars are going. Thank you.
Okay, Joe?
It's kind of a hypothetical question because we have no power to change the office that we're elected to. But I think the system we have works now. The main thing is to do things transparently. Over the years, and Mel would attest to this, that I've become a fan of the open meeting laws. When I first got elected, it seemed like a rotten way to do business, but it is true. We make better decisions when the public's involved.
Alrighty. Corey? Yes. If elected, what single thing, if anything, would you change about how the commissioners currently govern Teton County?
I think for me, just communication, like knowing where the graders are going to be working next week would be really handy so that we can avoid that area and give them room to work. Making it so that people know why decisions are made and what's going on with the county. Just really kind of taking that and making it so that it's available to people. That's one of the hardest things too, and it takes a lot of work to do it, but it's worth doing in the long run. Thank you.
All right, so those were our 4 questions. We're now going to give each candidate 2 minutes to do closing remarks, and we're going to continue in the same rotation. So Rhea, you're up.
In my closing remarks, and if I'm elected as next new county commissioner, what I would like to bring in my term is leadership. I would like to have leadership and proactive leadership to kind of go and look into the future and see what needs to be done. I would like to bring some integrity into the office, and I guess that's I'm just trying to blank right now. I'm trying to think. Anyway, so thank you.
Joe?
Well, I'm in a different position than the other 3 people at this table. I'm running on my record. I'm pretty proud of it. I've had 18 years, and I believe I've made mostly good decisions. I've been very conscientious. We've been proactive. Like I said, we've already changed the road department, and that's going to be critical with the economy going like it is. And I have an ability to bring people together, and I've demonstrated that over the years. I think that's really important, and I guess I just appreciate your vote if you believe in what I've been doing, because it's what I'm going to keep doing. Thank you.
Corey?
I'd just like to thank Melody and the entire staff and crew at the Acantha for putting this on tonight. They've done a really good job, and it's really good to see everybody here as well. As far as the county goes, I think that this is one of the best places to live, and I don't want to see it continue to be that way, and I want to be part of making it that way in the future. Mostly by contributing a different perspective, by helping to kind of guide the community and guide the county through the next 6 years, hopefully. And I really appreciate your vote to help me do that. Thank you.
one, I'd like to make sure that I'm in the office as much as I can be, and will be, and I want to have people come in and visit with me and tell me what their problems are, and we can discuss things like that, and go over things. I know one time I was in the office and just stopped in to say hi to the commissioners, and it was Joe asked me, well, what do you think of side zones for belly dumps? And I said, well, they're a good way to move gravel. And they are. Belly dump works better than you're grading the road, because if you get the gravel up in a nice even pattern, which makes a difference. I didn't know until later on in my work. I also would like to make sure that all the fire departments have a good, strong equipment, and that they have good people working with them there, and that's another thing that's very important is our fire departments. But like I said, I'm willing to visit with anybody at any time once I'm elected. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Can I have a round of applause for these candidates? And again, they'll stick around afterwards, so if you've got specific questions for them, I encourage you to go ahead and talk with them. We're going to take about a 2-minute break now while we get set up for the PSC, and I just want to note that Teton County Clerk and Recorder and Election Administrator Paula Giaconetti is in the lovely lady in purple over here in this corner. She has with her a new assisted voting machine called Express Votes. It replaces something called the Automark 2, and it can help voters with low vision or disability of any kind, and you don't have to be disabled to use it if you want. So she's going to hang around all through the program, and she'll be here right after we adjourn. And if anyone wants to learn more about those machines, talk to her before you leave. All right? All right, thanks, guys, very much. Can I have my PSC candidates up to the front? All right, so Public Service Commission District 5 includes Flathead, Lake, Ponderay, Teton, Lewis and Clark. We lost two, just who did we lose? Okay, oh, that's right, Ponderay, they went the other direction, didn't they? To District 1, yeah, District 1. So, sorry about that. There was a lawsuit over that, and we just had a decision not too long ago on how to balance out the population within each district. It had gotten out of whack over the last 20 years or so. So our Republican candidates are Dr. Annie Bukacek of Kalispell, Dean Crabb of Marion, Joe Dooling of Helena, and Derek Skies of Helena. The Democratic candidates.
Miss, I'm actually from Kalispell.
Oh, from Kalispell. Sorry, see?
But I went to move there.
There you go. The Democratic candidates are Kevin Ham of East Helena and John Repke of Blackfish. Okay. All right. So, Kevin Ham resides in his hometown of Helena, where he attended schools from kindergarten to college. He's the CEO of Auxilium, okay, and the CEO of Treasure State Internet and Telegraph, making his family's telecommunications legacy a 5-generation story that has provided him with an understanding of utilities and regulations. He's served on the boards of Queen City Ballet and the Healthy Mothers, Healthy Babies organization, and he founded the Happiness and Joy Foundation, the nonprofit that puts on Big Sky Pride, the statewide pride celebration for Montana. A dedicated patron of the arts, he's been in several productions at Grand Street Theater, where he was a founding member of the improv troupe Cow Tipping Comedy, and has hosted and performed in many stand-up comedy shows. John, after graduating from Ohio State University, moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma, where he worked in the oil industry. He transferred to Gillette, Wyoming, and worked as a materials man in a field near Savagetown? Okay. After a few years, he and his wife Beth moved to Denver, where he earned a master's degree in business administration and worked in accounting for a couple of small producers. He then went to work for Waste Management in Illinois for 13 years, progressing from financial and planning analyst to senior director of financial services. In 1999, he became the chief financial officer of an international supply chain partner company to McDonald's. 10 years later, he returned to the environmental services industry as the CFO for Veolia North America. He and Beth moved to Whitefish in 2014. He's taught business classes at Flathead Valley Community College, Confederated Salish Kootenai Tribes, Economic Development, and Lake County Economic Development Corporations. He also volunteered with Montana West Economic Development. In 2018, he went back to work full-time as the CFO with Smart Land LLC in Columbia Falls. He retired in 2021. Joe Dooling is a Montana farmer and rancher and infrastructure consultant. He has served on several boards and is a past chairman of the Lewis and Clark County Republican Central Committee and served on the Montana Farm Service Agency Committee as an appointee of past President Donald Trump. Joe says he was appointed to this committee because of his strong understanding of agriculture and the issues facing farmers and ranchers. Dr. Bukacek is a board-certified internal medicine physician and owns her own Kalispell practice, Hosanna Healthcare. She's been doctoring in Montana for more than 30 years, is a mother of 5 and a grandmother of 14. She was voted best family physician in Flathead County the last 3 consecutive years. She's a member of the Montana Medical Association Legislative Committee, a fellow of the American College of Physicians, an ACP council member for 10 years, and in 2019, she won the ACP Laureate Award for commitment to excellence in medical care and service to her community. Also, she is a member of the American Association of Physicians and Surgeons. She went to Washington, D.C. in 2008 on the steering committee for the Coalition to Protect Patient Rights. Dr. Bukacek served on the Flathead Health Board from January 2010 to March 2022 and she has been president of the Montana Pro-Life Coalition since 2008, and is a member of the board and executive committee of the Montana Shooting Sports Association. Dean is a multi-generational electrical lineman. He has worked in the utilities field for 30 years. His vocational expertise started in underground utilities, installing water, sewer, and gas infrastructure before moving on to underground and overhead fiber optics. He then became a journeyman lineman. He's now retired, but still a card-carrying union member. He and his wife have 3 sons. His oldest son, who's 22, is an apprentice lineman, making him the 5th generation of their family to follow this career path. His middle son is involved with electrical line management, the people you call before you dig, and his youngest son is still in high school. Derek, a construction consultant who I think originally hails from Orlando, Florida, is a graduate of the University of Central Florida and has been active in Montana politics since November of 2011, when he was elected to the Montana House as a representative for District 4. He represented House District 4 from 2011 to 2013, then took a couple of years off after running unsuccessfully for the PSC in 2014. He was re-elected to represent House District 11 in 2016, 2018, and 2020, and is now term limited out. In the 2021 legislative session, he was the chairman of the House Energy, Technology, and Federal Relations Committees, and he has served on the House Energy Committee throughout his tenure in the House. He also served on the House Judiciary Committee and chaired the Rules Committee. He previously chaired the Energy and Telecommunications Interim Committee, which oversees the PSC, and he has worked on various pieces of energy legislation during his time in the House. He and his wife have 3 children. And those gentlemen and ladies are your candidates. So they drew for order of answering, and Kevin drew number 1, so he's going to start off by telling us what are your skills or qualifications for serving on the PSC?
Thanks for asking. One of the big things that we run into with any sort of regulation is that you need to understand both sides of it. It's a balance that you have to build out. That requires you to see both what the regulation is trying to do and what it's actually doing, which is a complex situation. My skills in problem solving come from literally having to, on a regular basis, find a way to get something done without the tools that are necessary for it. My entire life has been done with this. I don't know if any of you have done community theater or tried to lay fiber optics for your own company, but when it comes down to getting things done, you have to find creative, interesting ways to do it, and that's how I approach the world. So when it comes to the PSC, we've got a lot of things that we need to fix, and we need to find creative solutions, and I'm the person to do it.
What are your skills or qualifications for serving on the Public Service Commission?
Well, it was stated before, I've been in this industry for over 30 years. Started from the ground, moved my way all the way up to project managers, superintendents, running crews, districts, all different variations of the utilities. Montana Code Annotated 69 specifies everything that the PUC or the PSC is supposed to do. And it's very important for everybody to understand this. Not only are we here to protect all of your safety, we're here to protect the safety of the workers that are out there. We're here to make sure that the plant is built right, that it's maintained right, and that it is all done at a certain acceptable cost to what you guys expect to pay. You know, I can't explain what this whole industry is as far as the utility industry. All I can tell you guys is everything works, and it works good because of the quality of the training of the people who are out there. That's why when you come home, your lights are on, your water works, your gas works.
I'd like to first take the opportunity to thank you guys for putting together this forum. It's rare that we get all this at the same table, so that's great. My experience in terms of education, I've got a degree from Montana State in agribusiness and economics, and a lot of where my experience that will fill this job, I see the job as a PSC commissioner like an umpire calling balls and strikes. And it's our job to interpret what the regulated utility is looking for, and our job is to give them the okay or not the okay. And so that happened when I was on the state FSA committee. That happened for 15 years when I worked at an engineering firm doing rate analysis. We worked on the airport here in Choteau. These are the kind of things that my whole life experience has given me, and from running my own small business, and understanding what the pressures are from utilities on the small businesses.
All right, John?
Okay, the work, 38 states have appointed PSC members, and most of those have requirements. Those requirements are accounting, finance, economics, statistics. That's the work that the PSC does, and that's exactly the experience I have. This is a question of looking at the rates that the ratepayers are going to pay. The only way you can effectively manage those rates is if you understand how they're calculated. I've been doing that for 40 years. I understand the financials of a complex company like Northwestern Energy, more than anyone else out there for sure, because I've been doing that. I've been CFO of companies like that. And I can do the job. I can do the analysis, and that's mostly what it's about. Thank you.
What I bring to this is I'm a combination of a business owner and also a known advocate for the people. And so the reason why that's important is because you have to balance the ledger between the consumer and the supplier of power. So I've owned my own business for over 20 of the 35 years I've been a physician, and I've been involved in grassroots advocacy and also as a physician for over 35 years. I listen to my patients, I solve problems, I do research, I'm very good at all of that. So I think that combination is probably the number one thing that I bring to this. So the other thing is extensive legislative and political experience. I've worked with the Montana legislators every session since 2009, both crafting and drafting bills and testifying for and against bills, advocating for or against bills. And so I bring that. It's important that we have a good relationship with the legislators, and I have developed many good relationships with them over the years. Also experience doing quality research. My time is up. Thank you.
I'd also like to say thanks to all the folks that showed up tonight. This is an awesome turnout. Last time I was in this building was 2014 when I ran for the seat against Brad Johnson. I've been doing a deep dive on the PSC ever since then. Went back in the legislature, got involved back in the Energy Committee, and that's the committee that has oversight of the PSC. The PSC has got some problems and some strengths, and we've worked really good on the legislative side to fix a lot of those problems. What I want to do is get inside and help them with the things that I saw that we couldn't fix in the legislature, specifically the rule-making authority that we gave the PSC. There's not much oversight when you have an interim committee that's equal Democrat and Republican trying to rein in the PSC when they're doing things that you don't like. I've listed 5 or 6 things that I know we have to fix inside the PSC. I can't wait to get in there and make those things happen. I'm endorsed by all the other commissioners, except for Jim Brown, because he's running for the Supreme Court. But I'm excited to get there. I know the job. As soon as I get there, I'll be able to launch. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you very much. We're going to go to question number 2, and Dean, you'll start us out telling us what you would want to accomplish in your first term on the PSC if you were elected.
Okay, well, again, the PSC, it's a regulatory body, but it's so much more than what everybody up here keeps trying to say. And again, if you care about this position, please read the Montana Code annotated, section 69. It tells you all of it. We need to start looking at plants that's out there. We need to start seeing what they're doing with where all of our base power is coming from, what power companies are coming from, which transmission lines are being transported on, and everything else. Quite a few people have mentioned up here about costs of gas and things like that. What's coming down the pipe in the utility industry? Please, guys, look into it. You have no idea how expensive this is going to be. The utility industry is life. It's water, it's gas, it's electricity. The numbers that are going to be thrown into you guys in the next year or 2 is absolutely unbelievable. They're planning it, they're doing it, and they're exercising it right now. This is huge that you guys pay attention and vote properly as to what's going to happen in this commission. It's a lot more than just trying to do a single. My time is up.
So I don't think this is a shocker statement to say that the PSC has been a little bit of a joke for us. We've seen PSC commissioners sleeping. We've seen them flying first class around the country. Misuse of dollars, there's audits been happening. So what I hope to bring to the Public Service Commission is back to the level of respect that the job needs to have. So that's what I hope to bring to it. The slogan I always use is firm but fair. That we give those utilities the ability to act as monopolies. We need to be fair with them, but we also need to be firm with them. And so that's what I hope to bring, that reason and sensibility to the commission.
John?
Well, I agree with Joe that the PSC has been a joke. Tammy Fisher, the former Republican mayor of Kalispell, does a podcast, and she labeled one of her episodes the cesspool of incompetence of the PSC, and that's a Republican talking about it. It is a mess, so it does need to be cleaned up. I've got 40 years of management experience. I've managed complex organizations. I certainly have managed organizations where control and discipline is important. The fact that the PSC failed an audit is inexcusable in my world, and that won't happen. Beyond that, there's a lot of work to do. There's a new rate case coming up, and again, it's getting in, doing the analysis, understanding how these rates are calculated that's important, and that's what I'll do.
I would agree the importance of restoring credibility and respect to the, Jennifer Fielder and Chair Jim Brown are doing a lot of great work to restore that credibility and respect, and I would be happy to join them in that. Another thing is I'd like to see the PSC members more involved with the legislature. We have experts in the field that give us a packet very thick with research. We get information every week to work on what's coming up on the docket, and I would like to see the PSC testifying more often for those bills, because we have, the legislators have thousands of bills they have to look at. We have one topic, and that's energy to focus on, and so we can be very helpful in the legislature.
I just want to start out by saying I am in Kalispell. Tammy Fisher is not a Republican. So just want to get that out there. I've been in the PSC's oversight ever since 2017, and I've studied every single one of their audits, including the two previous ones that were failures. The failures were mostly clerical in errors. Not turning in receipts correctly, not expensing trips, the chair using it for first-class flights. So it was an economic failure, not necessarily a statutory failure. The last audit that they just had, they solved 92% of the problems. They did a great job. So I think Jim and Jennifer and the rest of the PSC folks are doing a great job bringing it back in. I want to join them on that. One of the biggest things that I want to work on fixing is the small water users. I think the rules that the PSC set up for small water users were heavily flawed last cycle, and we studied it during the interim, and I think they have a bunch of solutions that will help a lot of the folks that are having problems with small water users. Thank you.
All right, Kevin?
Thanks. The PSC touches on every part of your life, whether it's energy, garbage, and believe it or not, even shipping. They cover trains. If they don't do their job, every Montanan suffers, even the ones that aren't directly linked to it. So if you get power from a co-op utility instead of from Northwestern, you can still be affected by the ineffectual work done at the PSC. When I get there, we're going to start fixing that stuff, and that's going to require a little bit of fighting, and a little bit of standing up, and a little bit of saying, nope, we're going to do this job. Because what's happening is we have to have somebody up there that's willing to get in that fight. And that's not being nice. That's not saying, oh, we'll be okay. That's saying we have to change things. We're going to make it better. And we're going to walk in, and we're going to be public about it. Sunshine fixes everything. So let's get it out in front of everybody so that you can see. Do you know what the PSC does on a daily basis? You certainly will.
All right, Joe will fill this question first. What is your philosophy on how to balance the needs of the ratepayers with the needs of the regulated utilities?
That's probably one of the biggest reasons I got in this race. I live about 1.5 miles from the third oldest hydro in the world, that we as ratepayers for Northwest Energy are buying for the third time. First time when they built it, second time when they sold it to PP&L with deregulation, which was the worst deal I've ever seen. And then again when Northwest Energy bought it back again. So from my point of view, my biggest criticism of Northwest Energy and the policy that's been happening is that there is no long-term solution. We are on the verge of having to import electricity. When deregulation happened, Montana was a huge net exporter of power. We are on the verge of having to import power. That is not a place that we need to be. And so for me, I'm going to look for solutions to where I'm going to encourage the companies to build long-term energy solutions that are Montana-based, because buying power on the open market is not a good solution.
Yeah, I mean, the way it really works is that the PSC listens to proposals and evaluates them. But, you know, I'm a businessman. I've been in private business for 40 years, in finance, in large companies. I respect businesses, and we all need, we need to have a strong, healthy Northwest Energy and MDU. I mean, that's important. I mean, we want to make sure that the energy is reliable and secure, but we also have to make sure that they don't pass through costs to ratepayers. They shouldn't be, and that takes some analysis to understand that. So in order to be fair, we have to be able to understand what's happening at Northwestern, and we have to be able to look at what gets passed through the customers. And in the end, we just want it to be fair to both. Thank you.
I agree with the being fair to both. And so what we have available when we're listening to the attorneys for the consumers and the attorneys for the different utility companies, we have, like I said, a stack of literature, a lot of literature available to us. We have subject matter experts, and I'm extremely good at research. That's one of my strongest points. I'm very good at problem solving. I've been doing it for my family and my patients for decades. And so I think that is what I would do. I would be very good at adjudicating and being fair to both sides.
This is an interesting question. The PSC is quasi-judicial. What they do is a docket is filed, the monopoly company is like the pro, and the Montana Consumer Council represents the consumer, the ratepayer. All the job of the PSC to do is make sure there is a rate of return, because that's a law established by the legislature, and their job is to determine how much that rate of return is, and it has to be the most reliable power. The philosophy of the individual judge matters not. You have to do exactly what the legislature says. The legislature establishes the policy. All the PSC does is rule according to Title 69. And so if you bring a philosophy into the courtroom when you're listening to the two sides, you've just biased the case. And so I would suggest there should not be a political philosophy in this game. It is set by the legislature. Our job as judges of the PSC is to use those rules on the rate case.
Adjudicating fairness shouldn't be a problem for anybody. People pretty much know what's fair. You know your pocketbook is yours, and then if somebody's going to come up and take an extra $20 out of it because they think that's fair to them, they better have a really good reason, and you better be getting a return for it. That's what the PSC should be doing. Unfortunately, what we've had over the last 12 years is a group of people who don't listen to what the rates are, don't listen to the realities that are out there, and don't ask the utilities to step up and do the right thing. The reason you have a regulatory body is because it's a monopoly. A monopoly doesn't function like a free market. You have to regulate it. You have to step in and say, hey, you're going to treat the people fairly, we're going to analyze these things. And that includes being able to step in and say, hey, you need to build more microgeneration, you need to deal with solar, you have to bring in wind, and you're going to have to deal with the fact that the three owners of Colstrip don't want to own it anymore, so we better find a way to get the base rate back up there and not take extra money from the people of Montana. Because like Joe said, we've already paid for this.
What is your philosophy on how to balance the needs of the ratepayers with the needs of the regulated utilities?
Okay, first of all, if the PSC is doing their job right. These are not monopolies, they're territories. Okay, I said this before. They want to be a monopoly. It's our job to control them. There's so much more involved in the PSC than just the finance. We cannot be enemies to them. We have to be partners to them. Okay, I can assure you, these guys make hundreds of millions of dollars a year. Okay, they are not hurting for money. $2 or $3 million here and there is just a drop in the bucket to these people. But again, if you want reliable utilities, you have to pay attention to who you're putting in this office. The safety of you, the safety of the people, the safety of everything that's out there inside of this whole utility industry is what the Public Service Commission is about. It's not just about money. It's not just about the rate. It's not about a 0.5%, 1/4%, because essentially, that's all it's costing you. I can't explain to you in any other way except for the true, well, my time is up.
Thank you, and again, I want you guys to hang around afterwards, so if people have more questions for you, or you want to continue to talk with them, you sure can. John, this question will go to you first, and this is our final question tonight. If elected, what single thing, if anything, would you change about how the PSC now operates?
Well, as one of the previous panelists said, we can't really change the scope of the responsibilities that the PSC has. I don't know that there necessarily has to be a change in the way it operates, but there has to be a change in the way that they conduct themselves. I mean, there's been a very unprofessional environment. They've lost a lot of staffers, and those staffers are the ones that really do the work on a day-to-day basis, and we need to, create an environment there at the agency that is motivating and, a healthy culture that people can flourish in and do work well.
In terms of changes, one of the reasons we're only required to be in Helena 1 day a week is because we're supposed to be out in our community. That's part of the reason. And because the vast majority of this job is research and applying research to decision-making and problem-solving. So I would like to see, kind of reiterate what Mr. Ham said about more community involvement and doing more, talking to the people and grassroots and involvement with people, touching base with people. That's one of the things that I do best. So I'd like to have the transparency come to the community, let them know what's going on with the PSC and the importance of it, and get their input and bring that back.
The single thing that I would change right off the bat is the way that we do administration inside of the PSC. The PSC meets on Monday, but it's a 40-hour-a-week job. And the problem with previous PSCs is those commissioners don't spend the full time in Helena doing the work. If all 5 commissioners were helping their staff, a lot more things could get done in a better way. It's when commissioners leave or just zoom in, then the staff is left to do whatever they want, and that's where the failures of the last 2 audits came from. So first thing I would do, there should be an executive director, and all 5 commissioners tell that executive director, and he or she funnels the information to the staff. That way you don't have 5 bosses, you just have 1. Institutionalize that, and you solve half the problems on those audits. There's a lot of things internally that have to happen inside the PSC, and that's just a couple, but there's a bunch more work to be done.
Well, first off, I bring an air horn because nobody should be sleeping through a meeting. More importantly, the transparency is the thing that everything needs. The PSC doesn't function when it does things behind closed doors. It doesn't function when 4 days out of the week people are not there. It doesn't function when on the 1 day of the week they're there, they don't get started until 11 o'clock and they leave by 3 p.m. That's not a functional government body, that's not a functional commission, and it's certainly not going to help the people of Montana. So, we're going to do the job, we're going to show up, we're going to be there every day, and whether it's actually physically being in the building on Prospect Avenue in Helena, or whether it's being zoomed in because we actually build up some infrastructure and get internet working in the rest of the state, shocking idea that, we can do what the people actually need if we show up for the job. So, I'm going to make sure we do.
Okay, one of the first things that I would do is make everybody in that place read the Montana Code annotated section 69. It specifies in there that we have to follow and enforce the NESC. I don't even know if anybody up here knows what that is. It's the National Electric Safety Code. We have to inspect plant in the field. We have to inspect switching stations in the field. There is so much more that this body is supposed to be doing, and this is where I'm talking about your guys' safety, than just looking at finances. That's not even 50% of the job, and it's specified in there what has to happen. I don't think there's another person up here or on the board at this point in time that's even qualified to walk into a switching station, let alone inspect it. You guys would have to call me just to walk you in the door. You gotta be a QEW to even go in. There's not a person on that board that's qualified to be on that board. And if you guys read Montana Code 69, it will explain in there what you have to do as the commissioner. And again, I can't find a person up here that's qualified to do this job.
You know, again, like a statement I made that it's no surprise to everyone that the PSC has been, the statement that the PSC has been kind of a joke for the last 12 years it's not a shocking statement. But, you know, to me, I want to bring in just a level of respect to the staff and respect to the utilities that were there. And again, to me, it's fair but firm. And that, you know, we have a long-term solution, encourage a long-term solution to our energy issues. Again, I can't express enough that how hard it's going to be for Montana when we go from a net energy exporter to now an energy importer. Our lives are going to be a lot different. And so that's what I hope to bring to the job. My dad always told me that if you want to get something done, give it to a busy guy. You know, my wife's in the legislature. We have a trucking business, a rental business, and a farm in the valley. And so I just feel like that's something that I can do. So.
All right, so that concludes our 4 questions. Each candidate will now have 2 minutes to give closing remarks. And we'll start with Annie.
My passion for this job is proportional to my passion for keeping Montana energy independent. So we have to continue to provide for people reliable, dispatchable, sustainable power to all Montanans. I'm somebody who's not beholden to any special interests other than the people of Montana. That's the number one special interest. I'm the combination of a business owner, somebody that's in touch with the people, somebody who's a great communicator, great at doing research, judicious, fair, extensive legislative experience, and tremendous research capacity. This is such an important job that I need to learn my life and my practice, and so that I can be there and when I need to be there, do the research, be in the community when I need to be in the community. So thank you so much for your time. Again, in conclusion, my passion is to make sure that Montanans are the number one most important special interest group.
I'd like to thank Kentha for putting this on. Thank you so much. And once again, for you folks that are putting in your time to sit here and listen to us. This is a difficult, before I begin, yes, I was born in Orlando and I blame my parents for that, but I've been here since 1982 when I was 13, so take that for what it's worth. And I'm still a carpetbagger, right, Joe? I've been studying this job since 2014 because I wanted it in 2014. I was endorsed by Bill Gallagher, if you guys remember him, back in the day, and Bill mentored me through a lot of things. One of the most important decisions back then was when BB&L gave the dams up and they had a $900 million carbon tax included in the price. All of us ate that. I went to every single one of those hearings and tried to convince those folks not to pass that, and they did. I went in the legislature the very next cycle, that's why I went back, and I tried to pass a bill that gave that money back to you and got defeated. There's a lot to this job that can't be explained in 60 seconds in front of you folks. And there's a lot of things up here that tie to your national angst with problems that we're seeing in other areas that have nothing to do with the PSC. This job, you're a judge. Policies set by the legislature, by you, with the folks you send to the legislature. All this job does is make sure you're fair and enacting and taking care of those dockets by what the legislature sets in policy. You can't determine that you like wind and solar more. You can't determine that you like coal and nuclear more. None of those concerns need to be on that bench. This job is extremely complicated. I'm the only one up here that when I get there, I won't have to learn the job, I understand it. I designed a book to help legislators regulate it last interim committee, we studied it for 18 months. When I hit the ground, I'll hit the ground running for you, and I won't have to learn how to do the job. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Derek Skees, and I appreciate your vote.
Thank you all for coming out here. I know it's actually really tough to get excited about politics this early in the year, and to see a crowd like this is really amazing. Everything that we have going on at the PSC involving power has been discussed pretty thoroughly, or at least touched on tonight. But the PSC isn't just power, it's phone, it's garbage, it's all utilities, trains. The important thing that you have to realize is that no matter what comes before them, you have to have somebody who actually cares about the people of Montana just as much as they care about being fair to the businesses. At the end of the day, you need somebody who's willing to stand up to the businesses and say, no, you don't get to use the people of Montana as your personal checkbook. No, you don't get to rush through a pipeline under the Yellowstone River just because you want to put something in that's going to burn more fuel and pollute the air. No, you don't get to treat Montana that way. But we still will treat you fairly. So I appreciate your time tonight. I appreciate that you've stepped up to become leaders in your community by doing this. I hope you go out and talk to everybody else about all the candidates that are up here. Because at the end of the day, everybody's running because they think they can do a good job. I know I will do a great job when I'm elected to the commission, and I thank you for being out here tonight.
Again, I'm sure that I sound quite a bit different than everybody else who's up here. I am a utility worker, I have been my whole life. The people who sit up here and say that they are experienced enough to do this job, that they are qualified to do this job, in my personal opinion, shows nothing but disrespect. Absolute disrespect for the complete, every single worker that's out there. Okay? They've done nothing to actually come through to learn how to do this job. And again, please read MCA 69 and you will understand exactly what I'm talking about. Okay? Just because you've been writing laws for 6 months out of the last 4 years doesn't qualify you to go do work for them. It doesn't qualify you to lead them. The Public Service Commission leads the utility industry. Okay? They are in charge of their safety. You know if somebody dies, the Public Service Commission is supposed to go out and do the investigation and determine how that person died, where the infraction was, where the problem was. Any of that mentioned up here? They are in charge of the safety for every single one of you and every single one of those workers. That's part of the Public Service Commission's job. And it's specified in Montana Code. You know, if you guys want to know where these people are sitting at, you want to know two of the main things that affect all of you people out here when you want to start talking about money. After this, why don't you ask one of these guys what a PT or a CT is? Let them try to explain it to you. That'll tell you the level of quality that they're sitting at, whether they can do this job or not. Thank you.
I want to thank everybody for coming. Again, it's really unfortunate that the good representative and I didn't get to spar like we did at the last one. I'm a little bit disappointed, but you know, he's quoting the Constitution, but he called it a socialist rag, so I'm just not sure exactly what he means by it. But real quick, like for me, the job is about firm but fair. I've said that a couple of times tonight, to look at the cases in front of you, be firm but be fair so that those utilities can continue to operate. I believe that my experience in the engineering world, we built the power line. I was part of the guys that built the power line from Lethbridge down to Great Falls. So I've had the experience in the utility side. I used to do rate analysis for all the water projects that we worked on across all the communities when I was at the engineering firm. So I've got the experience there. I appreciate your vote. My name's Joe Dooling. Come talk to me afterwards.
You know, I come from a background that says actions speak louder than words, and I was at the PSC meeting yesterday morning. I got up at, I left Whitefish at 5 a.m., drove way too fast through the Swan with all the deer and elk on the road, but got there in time for the meeting. I was, not all the commissioners were at the meeting, and certainly no one else sitting up here was at the meeting, but the topic of the meeting was hedging. Northwestern Energy was seeking approval to hedge the price volatility exposure on some of the energy it needs to purchase. Now, that might sound complicated, and it is complicated. And frankly, I was the only person in the room, other than the expert witness for MCC, that understood what was going on, because when I worked for Waste Management, I managed the hedging program, the largest consumer-side hedging program in the country at the time. I know this stuff. Now, that's what you can't sit up there and make decisions and claim you're going to be fair and claim you're going to, without understanding the facts. And that's the type of work that has to be done, and that's why you need someone that can understand this. I completely believe in transparency. I think, projects that come before the panel need to be evaluated objectively. There have been situations in the past, if you look through some of the cases recently, where the commissioners did not act fair, and that needs to be corrected, and that's what I'll do. I will bring integrity, honesty, professionalism, and competency in the true work that the PSC does. Thank you all for coming. This is really an outstanding turnout. I want to thank the Acantha for putting this on. I'm new to politics, but this is how people learn. I appreciate you coming out. Thank you.
All right, can we give these guys a round of applause? We'll take a 5-minute break now. Gus is going to put us on timer. Have some coffee, have some water, change things around in here, talk to Paula about the express boats, and we'll get started again in about 5 minutes. sure there won't be any complaints about that.
Nope.
But, we'll get started in just a few minutes.
Do you have time to use the bathroom? She's gonna do intros and stuff.
Okay, so thank you again for coming tonight. The final race on our little program is House District 17. That features 2 Republicans, Ross Fitzgerald and Justin Cleveland, and 1 Democrat, Barnett Sportman Morris. Barnett will face the winner of the Republican primary in the general election in November. Ross is running for his last term in the House as Montana law puts a 4-term limit on House members. He and his wife Gretchen live on a family farm outside of Fairfield, and he's a proud 1967 Howard High School graduate. He earned a bachelor's degree in agriculture production from Montana State University. He's a business broker, intermediary, and a real estate agent. In the past, he has worked as a farmer, a commodities merchandiser, a fire training instructor, a livestock fieldman, and he was the farm news director and worked in advertising sales for the KEIN radio station. Ross served in the Montana Air National Guard, and his civic involvement includes 30 years with the Power Volunteer Fire Department, 20 or so years on the MSU Fire Services Training School Advisory Council. He's a member of the Fairfield Lions Club and the Dutton American Legion Freeborn Post 67. He's a past member of the Skyline Retirement Lodge Board here in Choteau and of the Montana Grain Growers Association Board, where he was also past president. Ross volunteers at local fundraisers as an auctioneer and a spotter. And in the state legislature, he has served on the Natural Resources, Business and Labor, and Fish, Wildlife, and Parks committees. Justin moved to Fairfield with his family in June of 1964. He grew up on a small farm north of Fairfield where his family raised sheep, pigs, hay, and grain. He's been married to his wife Pam for 40 years. In high school, Justin participated in wrestling and FFA. He was involved in starting the Little Giant Wrestling program in Fairfield in 1988 and was a volunteer wrestling coach for 25 years through all the age groups at school. With Mike May, he started a freestyle wrestling club that had kids from Choteau, Fairfield, and the Sun River Valley in it. After graduating from Fairfield High School, he went to work building grain bins and steel buildings for a year, and then on to Eisenman Seed, which became Bush Ag, where he ran the seed plant and grain elevator. After 10 years there, he took a new job with Three Rivers Communications, and he's worked there for the past 32 years. So his tenure at Three Rivers and mine at Tampa are just overlap. Yeah. Barnett lives outside Choteau with his wife, veterinarian Kristen Boroff, and their 3 young children. As a child, he lived in Valier, but his family moved to Wyoming, and he graduated from Meeteetse High School. He attended the University of Wyoming and graduated in 2005 with a bachelor's degree in agriculture business and a minor in international studies. He then entered a graduate program which included service abroad at the U.S. Embassy in Stockholm, Sweden. He graduated in 2006 with a master's degree in agricultural economics and then worked as an agricultural economist for the USDA FFAC in Washington, D.C. He next applied for lateral entry into the U.S. Foreign Service and was posted as a regional diplomat to the U.S. Embassy in Guatemala City, covering Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, and Honduras, and later served as an agricultural attaché with senior commercial officer duties. After being there for 3 years, he and his wife decided to return to rural America, and she took a job with Double Arrow Veterinary Clinic here in Choteau. Barnett has worked in a number of different areas since then. He is now the co-owner and chief operating officer of Moggies and Mutts Family Animal Clinic in Choteau. And he's also the proprietor of the Immigrant Brands LLC, which deals in fair trade coffee, and a number of other fair trade markets. So these are our candidates for tonight, and we'll go ahead and get to our race questions. They drew straws earlier, and Barnett will go first. And Barnett, can you please tell us what you want to accomplish in your first term in office if elected?
Yeah, if elected, my goal would be to represent the people of House District 17 in the best manner possible. And doing so would require me not only just to vote on bills, but actually bring legislation for the House, and working alongside Democrats and Republicans in the House as well as the Senate to pass legislation that actually benefits people in this House district. Too often we've seen in rural Montana not enough legislators actually bringing bills and legislation to the floor that actually benefits people in rural Montana. And that is one thing that I would guarantee for you, is I would be an active legislator. I would not sit back. I'd actually bring new, bold ideas to be able to benefit our rural areas.
Good evening, and thanks for coming out this evening to visit with us here, both on the formal and hopefully informally afterwards. As Marty said, I'm on my third term, which expires the end of this year, but we are term limited out for 4 terms. But I would like, if you have not picked up a little sheet I made up here, please pick one up. This last couple of years, I think I've earned a fair amount of recognition and kind of earned my way up the ladder. As you know, it takes a session or two just to understand who and where and how things work. But certainly as a member of the Natural Resources, the Business and Labor, which is a big one anymore, it's the one that we had to wrestle with on the marijuana law, which was a real chore. But as chairman of the Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, I think that hits home here along the eastern front, all the way from Glacier Park down to Wolf Creek. Thank you.
Okay, Justin, please tell us what you want to accomplish in your first term in office if you're elected.
Thank you, Melody, and all of you for showing up tonight. First term in office, when elected, would be listening to you, the people of House District 17, and getting out in the communities and meeting. That's kind of how I got into this, was getting involved in getting updates from legislatures, but being involved with the people. And I've been out campaigning and been doing that, having visits with people, and there's things that, as Barnett had mentioned, to rural counties and rural areas of Montana that need to be taken care of. But just having an ear to listen and a voice that is going to do what I'm elected to do, and that is to represent you.
Thank you. Our next question will go to Ross first. What is the most serious problem facing Teton County or House District 17? And what can you do to remedy or alleviate that problem as a legislator?
Well, I think, thank you. For the most part, all the rural counties we represent on House District 17, Teton, Ponderay, and part of Lewis and Clark County, and most of the problems are fairly similar. Right now, of course, we're experiencing the worst inflation rate we've ever seen. We've also experiencing the cost of goods go up, and so, you know, there's only so many things we can do on that basis from the state level. But certainly, we minimize, the government as much as we can, start working more on those budgets, get where the priority needs are in the state legislature. And certainly we've tried to do that as the Republican majority has had in their priorities. So from that standpoint, in a general sense, we're going to have to worry about the economy. As far as Teton County, I guess I've been told we've got to get more money for gravel.
Issues facing this district. Okay. A few weeks weeks ago, Ross and I were at a meeting with the Attorney General, and one of the things that's really facing the state, not just this district, and that's the drug use and the fentanyl that's coming across the southern border. It's going to affect this county and this district just like the rest of the state, and the human trafficking. The businesses that need to be encouraged, and small businesses, and maybe some regulations lifted. I work in an industry where it seems to be industry regulated heavily, and just to try to get through the processes to get something built is time consuming and takes a lot of money, so I look at those issues.
Across north central Montana, rural Montana in general, I believe that we see a very high rate of adverse childhood experiences that are caused by substance abuse problems, behavioral health problems, as well as the lack, which is a serious issue, as well as the lack of affordable child care, as well as our education system in Montana that is falling behind because it's not properly funded. And I think those are three interlinked subjects that need to be focused on more for our region. They're social issues, not the ones that people like to talk about, the talking heads that split us, but actually social issues that are problematic for people in their daily lives. It's problematic when we look at business operations. It's problematic when we look at our public institutions. And it's something that I think that we need to do more to address through properly funding programs, as well as bringing jobs to the region that increases wages.
Okay, and so Justin will take the next question first. When push comes to shove, well, let me preface it by saying this. I've heard over the last 32 years, and it's been fairly consistent, that maybe when we send people to Helena, it's not so much a D versus R issue for rural Montanans as it is a rural versus urban issue for constituents here as we're fighting for resources in the government, in Helena. So when push comes to shove in Helena, would you vote in the best interest of your rural constituents, even if that action goes against the position of your party? Why or why not? Because sometimes what's important to us isn't the same.
Once again, as I started, it's this office is a representative. I know there's a lot of pressure from the party to vote a certain way, but it's for this district, and we need to look out for what the district wants and to listen to the people in those areas that might affect this area. It might not affect the urban area, it might not affect a different rural area, but we need to get out and visit with the people and take advice from them, because we are here to represent them. And it's things that need to have the meetings and get some feedback and be involved in your government. And I know it'd be a tough job, but hopefully the pushback wouldn't be too hard to be able to stand for the district and the voters that put me in that office.
Although I'm running as a Democrat, I think that most people know me is that I am pretty much in the middle, and I am always open to listening to the views of others. I have changing views over time, and I am in no way connected back to a definitive set of opinions that the Democratic Party apparently has. I joke about the fact that running as a Democrat in this House district that I will probably never win. I could wear a pirate hat up here and drink Coors beer and just say stupid stuff. But there's people that will think that I am friends with somebody named Nancy Pelosi, or that I want to kill babies, or I want to do other weird things. But the reality is I'm just a person. I've spent most of my life in rural America. I've had the privilege of dining with foreign leaders. I have 3 kids, and I have an amazing wife. I'm not some evil Democrat. I'm just a human being.
Well, let me make one thing clear is we're part of the, or at least I am part of the Republican Conservative Solutions Caucus, and as you well know, we try for solutions, not necessarily party politics in all cases, but in many cases we do hang tough with the party in the major issues, whether it's spending or infrastructure infrastructure, whatever. But I will tell you that out of 686 or 700 bills that actually got through the process, out of about 2,100, there's a myriad of things that are tough to figure, and certainly local is the first, as I've always stated, is that, we have 4 priorities: faith, family, freedom, and friends. Well, that all comes back down to the local level, and I'm all rural. I don't have any real major metropolitans. But I will tell you, some of the biggest problems come from the 8 major counties in the state. So be advised, I am rural, I'll stay rural, and but understand there's issues that affect both.
Thank you. Our final question is, what was the single most important action the legislature could take to improve Montana's economy? And Barnett, you'll go first on that one.
I think Montana needs to look wholesale at the different economic development programs it has within the state. I worked with an economic development for 2 years, and I can tell you the state's approach to that, when you look at it across the board throughout the country, is an absolute joke. We focus too much on funding nonprofits or funding local entities and awarding grants rather than seeing actually effective change. If we want to have a strong economy, we have to look at transaction costs, we have to look at taxation, we also have to look at whether or not we have workers for people. We could try to get a plant to come to this town of Choteau, but they would always ask where they're going to get the workers. So there's a lot of steps we have to take in the state, but I think part of it is actually doing a wholesale revamp of every level of economic development program we have for the state, and beginning a conversation with every single citizen to understand what we have to do to actually move Montana forward, and especially rural areas that are disadvantaged in comparison to places like Bozeman and Missoula.
Well, in this economy as it sits now, we've had a big influx of ARPA money, and there's big fights and wars going on all over counties, cities, and states trying to figure out how they're going to be able to use that for infrastructure and schools and other things. Long term, in addition to the grants and whatnot through that and the Ag department, there's been several bills to try to help agriculture, and one of them is the hemp bill. And we finally have a viable hemp program out of Fort Benton that's very, very solid. So we think that's going to help at least the agricultural folks. On the other side, when you get to the livestock side, the federal boys are actually getting a hearing that's hopefully going to be productive to get the packers and whatnot to be honest about a fair market price. So that should filter down as well. But in general, I guess we're still looking at reducing regulations. The governor's got a plan to reduce red tape. And so in a short period of time, that's a tough thing to do.
What is the single most important action the legislature can take to improve Montana's economy?
I think it's been mentioned before, but the regulations and the red tape just stifle the economy, and shutting down businesses stifle the economy. We need to put maybe some regulations in there that can't be done, just to shut down a small business. You see the big box stores carrying on, but the small businesses have to shut down, and all the money lost, and then you've got all these programs and try to pay that back, and somebody's got to pay for that. But we need to protect businesses and protect workers, as many workers are essential, not just a certain few, and be looking out for the families and businesses that are already here, and like I said before, be able to strengthen them and encourage others to come in here and have the workers available to fuel those small businesses.
All right, that's the end of our formal questions. So each of our candidates now gets 2 minutes to make closing remarks. And looks like Ross will go first.
Thanks, Mel, and I do appreciate the opportunity to come and visit with all you folks. problems. I will tell you that we've been involved with the water issues and trying to knock out the bureaucracy and power at Augusta. We even had a flood fight with the folks at Choteau here a year or so ago when we had the ice break up in the creek. So fundamentally, I've been working on small projects and solving problems, even up through Bynum and Montana Department of Transportation and some things between Bynum and Choteau here. So there's a multitude of things that we get calls on. Certainly, we've also tried to help the trucking industry with lightening up some of those motor carrier laws and making them more friendly and easier to do business and not having to stop so much. The one major issue that I went through is emergency responder safety. It was called the New Order Law, and we beefed it up. We changed some language in there that helps out the law enforcement folks as well as the firefighters, the EMS, tow truck drivers, all those folks that risk their lives every day on the highways. And certainly we need to go back to that and look at highway safety, and certainly close to my heart. So from those standpoints, there's been a lot of little projects and a lot of phone calls that I've been handling to try to solve problems. And it goes on and on. I mean, trying to answer questions on a daily basis, but hopefully, as I hopefully stay in natural resources, it talks about water rights, mining permits, business and labor, and again, the wolf and the grizzly bear issue is not over. And hopefully, if I get back, we'll deal with that again, because we've been attacked on all sides regarding wolf control, and also the grizzly fight between the feds and the state. So again, thank you so very much. And I would want to say one quick thing. I want to thank Amy McKinley, who is my show person who was on page both in the House and the Senate this year. So thank you, Amy. You did a great job.
I also just want to thank everybody again for being here tonight. Thank you, Melody and staff, for putting this on, and all the other county commissioner candidates and Public Service Commission. They were all good discussions. Just everybody being here shows that you're interested in what's going on, and that's the main thing of our government, is the people being involved. And as Melody read my resume to start with, it's pretty short and to the point. I'm a blue-collar lunchbox guy. That's what I've been all my life. Been working just through this career, and not a career politician. I haven't been in that field, but just through the last few years being involved, and took a constitutional class and seeing that the reason government runs amok is because the people don't get involved and take an interest, and it's we the people that give that power to our elected officials. So it's very important to listen to the public and the districts. So that's what I want to do. And how did I get to this point in my life? I never dreamed I would be here. It's not something I wanted to do. People coerced me into it. Some people challenged me to come here to do this last year in a session. So I took that challenge and going to get out and listen to people. And it's just, as I've always been told, it's not simple, or it is simple, but it's not easy dealing with people. God gave us voices to communicate with civilly. We can disagree and have a discussion, as Barnett said. We can have our discussions and we can disagree, but we can do that civilly. I want to be able to hear from the people. Want to be able to inform the people. Want to be able to see the citizens involved and get information and make informed decisions and choices. Want to be the one who will listen to hear, not the one that listens to respond. Throughout things that just you hear in the world, time's up, huh? Is that for me, or is that for Ross? Okay, thanks again for coming.
I'd like to thank the Choteau Canada for organizing the debate, also the fellow candidates for House District 17, and also thank all of you for coming. I want to apologize, I'm a little groggy today. I spent the entire day watching my son, who's been sick for the past 2 weeks, and if you do that, it kind of makes you sleepy for the rest of the day. But in all seriousness, I hope that as you guys see me around town or in Fairfield or throughout the House District, you feel free to come up and talk to me. One thing I'll tell you about myself, I'm a bit socially awkward and I'm extremely shy. So feel free to always point out to me to talk to me, because I may not always be the first person to talk to somebody else, but I'm always extremely interested in the viewpoints of somebody else. One of the things I think is key when we're looking at this next legislative session, though, is whether or not we're going to be fighting over things that people want to use to divide us, or we're actually going to work on passing legislation to actually improve our lives. And I'm very concerned that the new crop of people that are running for the state legislature, especially on the Republican side of the aisle, are individuals that are not looking to unite us and not looking to focus on what is actually necessary within this state. You know, Montana has changed quite a bit since like my great something came here in 1867, but it still in many ways is the same. It's a place where individuals can disagree and still get along. It's a place where if somebody works every single day and is honest and fair in the game of life, they should have an equal opportunity compared to their neighbor, no matter what they look like, no matter how they pray. What I can guarantee you is I am somebody that's an economist, I'm a father, I am deeply religious, even though I don't wear it on my shirt sleeve. And if you elect me, I'll do everything I can to represent you in the state legislature and actually do things that better our lives, rather than fighting over things that only divide us. Thank you.
Can I have a round of applause, please, guys? And for our candidate forum, I'd like to note that there will be one local initiative on the primary ballot. The Teton County Council on Aging is asking voters to approve a new 2 mil property tax levy to support the operation of the senior citizen centers in Choteau, Dutton, Power, and Fairfield. You can be sure you can watch the Acantha between now and when the absentee ballots go out in early May. We'll have a nice article on that explaining why they need the money, what they're asking for, and how it might impact your farm, ranch, or home. So please keep an eye out for that. I'd like to thank our candidates again, and you, our audience, for coming. I'd also like to thank Steve Doyakos for running the Facebook live stream, Gus Lee for being our timer, Jeff Martinson and Bonnie Jacobson with the Choteau Acantha, and Bonnie's husband Rick for their help. And again, remind everybody that Paula Giacometti is over in the corner there with her new express vote machine. And take a look at it. Please drive safely on your way home. Get your questions answered from the candidates before you leave. Remember to vote on June 7th. Polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 on Election Day. Absentee ballots are available at the courthouse and will go out in early May. So thank you all again.
Thank you.